one for R&B.
This is Tank.
This is Jennifer Hudson.
99.5.
It's number one for R&B.
This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
This is Express Yourself with the Professor. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself live on Global Radio 99.5 FM.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Express Yourself is the name of the show, and you have the opportunity, I was about to say authority, and you do have the opportunity and authority to express yourselves on this show, as I have seen now that so many other shows on the airwaves are blocking people from expressing themselves. And I'm very disappointed in that because it's unconstitutional. The Constitution didn't say that your views have to be right or wrong or a combination thereof. You have a right to express your views on this problem that is happening in Haiti. And it's a real problem. It's a big problem for the Haitian people. And I've heard any number of stories last night. The professor at the University of Columbia in Canada, Haitian American lecturer or professor at that university. And she has a different view on what is happening in Haiti. The international community say we have gangs running Haiti. She thinks differently. They're not gangs. So what is it then? You may be a former policeman. You may be a former officer of the army. And I understand there's a distinct difference between being an army and being a defense force. Of course, you will know in our country, we have a defense force, but there is nothing in the Constitution that speaks to a Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Let us get that straight. The only force mentioned in the Constitution is the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And the commissioner of the Royal Bahamas Police Force has independent authority in that Constitution. Now, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force would operate under statute law, and there's a statute law for them. Whether they are operating according to it, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But the police in the Commonwealth of Bahamas are responsible for maintaining law and order. And right now, we are tightening up the borders with the cooperation of the Defense Force and the Royal Bahamas Police Force, doing their job to protect the interests of the Bahamian people. And that is a good thing. I'm glad to see that the two forces are working together. Oh, let me get my microphone back. You know what, my hand just hit it down. They're working together to protect the interests of the Bahamian people, because I heard the Commodore of the Defense Force say words to that effect. That's a good thing. And I pray that God will be with them, because I know it's a dangerous job. You don't know who you're going to meet on the high seas. And incidentally, I understand we had a boat with hundreds of Haitians that have been intercepted, either in Bahamian waters or near Bahamian waters. And so you're going to have any number of persons trying to enter the country illegally. That's contrary to law. The boundaries of the Bahamas are for Bahamians only, not for other nations. The Haitians have their own nation. They have their own boundaries. And here's an interesting thing that I heard from the professor from the university. I listened to all that was said when she was in that interview. And she said that the international community is blocking people from Haiti from determining their own future. In other words, the international community is insisting on who should run Haiti, according to remarks from her. And I have heard, even from CARICOM, that this has to be a Haitian-led solution. Well, fine. I don't have a problem with that if they want to go. It's their country. But here's the point. 1804. And just they can't seem to get it right. The first elected personality, as I understand, and if there's anyone out there who can correct me if I'm wrong, because we are going to have a guest tomorrow who has agreed to come, who has intimate knowledge about Haiti and about the government of Haiti. Mr. Jeff Williams, he's agreed to come on the show live tomorrow. So I'm going to leave all those intricacies to him because I told him some things I heard him say. I'm hearing that for the first time. But what you have is you have other persons who are painting a different picture of Haiti. And so you have to listen to these different voices. I'm not saying that they're lying to anyone, but there's a whole lot of confusion as to what is happening. What is really happening in Haiti? Why is it? From 1804, when they became an independent nation, or they declared themselves independent, let's put it that way, and the world at that time did not recognize the people of the Republic of Haiti when they declared themselves to be independent. Well, you recognize the others. How come you didn't recognize them? What's the reason for that? They were a French colony, Bahamians. The Bahamas is a British colony. And you're going to find, from what I understand in reports coming to me, the French were very brutal rulers to the people of Haiti. Very brutal. And so you will find if you come up under that kind of oppression, you're going to have a different disposition. The Bahamians, as we are today, we were citizens of the United Kingdom and colonies before July the 10th, 1973. And to start the nation off, you have Article 1, which speaks to the first very article in the Constitution about citizenship, and you got several of them. I think it's about 12 or so, 12, 13 articles dealing with citizenship. Right after you announce the preamble and the Constitution being the supreme law of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Because it's supreme, you know. Some of you don't understand what that means. Meaning it's the highest law in the land. And you're hearing all kind of crappy talk from personalities in this country who are trying to undermine the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, even as I left to come here on another radio station. That particular personality with the guests on the show undermining the Constitution and comparing the Bahamas, the way of life we have here with the people of Haiti, there's no comparison. You know why there's no comparison? You got two different types of persons who were brought up, one under very brutal circumstances. In the Commonwealth of the Bahamas today, we were a British colony. Our upbringing was totally different. So when I heard all these comparisons and then people are comparing what's happening in Haiti now and saying that's what's happening in the Bahamas, I can't agree with that. When you look at that's why I keep saying I'm referring to the Constitution. The tremendous freedoms and privileges and ideas we have today, Haiti don't have that. But they say they got one Constitution. Now, I'm not too familiar with their Constitution, but I sure know what this one says for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I know that. I've been trained for that. and was prepared well for this kind of time that we're in. I didn't even know I was going to be on the airwaves talking to the Bahamian people and explaining the Constitution. And of course, there will be constitutional classes coming up, constitutional conferences, constitutional lectures, constitutional town meetings, constitutional community meetings. Listen, Bahamians, we have plenty work to do. We've lost 50 years and 8 months. Because the people you sent there to do your national business has deceived and misled you 50 years and 8 months. You look at the Bahamas Nationality Act, it's not even an act. It's a bill, Bahamians. The Constitution tells me it's a bill, even though they ram it through the House, say they passed it, then send it to the Senate, then send it on to the Governor. Even the Governor General was deceived. And assented something that is not constitutionally sound. Now, let me say, as I said yesterday, every single thing that has been passed in that House, there needs to be a committee of persons who are well qualified to examine every single word, every single sentence, every single paragraph, every single page of every single law that they claim that they have passed and sent on to the Governor General. Famous, let me tell you something. If they're like the Bahamas Nationality Act, I'll tell you one thing. All of them would be contrary to constitutional law. That's the predicament we're in, Bahamians. We spent billions of dollars over the last 50 years and 8 months. For what? Just for people to write crap on pieces of paper and giving it to strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders and say, you're now a citizen? Give me a break, man. And I understand 300,000 applications at the Ministry of not Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Immigration. I got to get it right, you know. And let me just say this. Even when the Minister of Immigration made a statement, you had a contradiction right from the Prime Minister's office. They don't even see when a minister speaks, he's supposed to speak. Now, see, this is what I'm saying now. He's supposed to be speaking for the government. But then you see, even with those personalities, they're not united. This minister says one thing, another minister says another thing, then the cabinet or the Prime Minister's office. What they got now? Cabinet office, they got that, they got Prime Minister's office, you know, all kind of mix up. That is why I am telling you now, Bahamians, you watch what they say, you listen to what they say, watch what they do. But if you don't know your constitution, how are you going to correct a government? When they step out of line and all you do is sit passively by and do nothing, I bet you all of you knew the Constitution like I know it. They wouldn't get away with one single thing. That's why I need more like me. And so I'm going to do the best that I possibly can with the support of the Bahamian people, because I don't get no support from those fellas. Let me make that very clear. I'm not in somebody's back pocket. I don't want to be there. Or even the front pocket or the shade pocket. Because some people are singing for their supper, singing for their lunch, singing for their breakfast. And they allowed themselves to do anything for personal advancement. We have too many personalities in this country who are like that. Right among us as Bahamian citizens. They're bootlickers. Another kind of lickers. They're interested in personal advancement at the expense of the Bahamian people. And I always tell the people, the interest of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, in my mind, always will be first. I don't come on this radio to express personal views, personal ideas, although constitutionally I have a right to do that. But I don't want to take radio time to do that because it's not important. I'm on a different mission to assist and help the Bahamian people to understand constitutional law. In the light of what is happening in our country, in the light of what has been signed, and many of these agreements, you haven't seen them, but they didn't sign them. That means every single agreement, every single thing that has been done by the government of Bahamas has to be thoroughly examined to see where it is constitutionally sound. That's the only way you're going to know Bahamians. So see the kind of work we have to do in addition to teaching the people the Constitution itself. But that's the reality of the day, and it is my duty to tell you that. So I'm going to be calling on you for your support and your backing, because let me tell you something. I've seen activists come and go. Now, I don't consider myself an activist. Let me just put that out there. But you can have activists. Nothing wrong with that. What I say is to the Bahamian people, I want to be constitutionally sound. The Attorney General is not constitutionally sound. The Minister of Immigration is not constitutionally sound. Because they're saying things that are contrary to the Constitution. The Cabinet of the Bahamas, which is the Immigration Board, that's what they say they are, they're not constitutionally sound. They're in error, big error. And Bahamians, you have to take that very seriously because we are in serious trouble. When you understand what your elected and appointed personalities have done to this country, and all you do is sit on your butt and think it's going to be okay. No, Bahamians, if you don't take the appropriate action that the Constitution says you can take, you may not have a country. That's how serious it is. So I didn't come here to waste time, talk nonsense and foolishness. Of course, I'm going to open the lines for you to get in. Now, I'm going to tell you, Bahamians, you better call early because some people always get left on the lines, and I don't want that to happen. I want to try and answer as quickly as I can and as accurately as I can. See, I don't express no opinions on a live radio show. The Constitution is more important than my personal opinion. So don't ask Professor what is his opinion. You ask me, what does the Constitution say? Now, that's a different question from asking me what is your personal opinion. That don't mean a crap. It's worthless. Although I'm entitled to an opinion. Don't misunderstand me. But in this business, opinion is a joke. But you can express your opinion, your idea, your suggestion, because the Constitution says that's what you can do. And a lot of you don't understand constitutional law, and I know that. That's why I'm here to help you. To understand the foolishness and the nonsense that has been going on in this country for 50 years and 8 months. We have to fix it, Bahamians. We got some serious work to do. And we cannot be playing. Now, those persons who send those emails in, I thank you for that. I'm having my team work with me on it. I didn't get to call you because it wasn't until last Thursday or Friday at the most, because they were checking the lines and the technicians kept calling and making sure that everything was straight. I tested it over the weekend. See, I just make those long distance calls, And I must say that the lines work well. When I left the office, the lines are working well. And I told him I wanted to stay on until Christ come back. It is very, very difficult, Bahamians, to operate without communications. I was handicapped for a couple of weeks. No one could reach me. I couldn't reach them. And this has happened in 2024. Aren't we a nation of law and order? Haiti is not. That's the difference between the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and Haiti. We don't burn down buildings. We don't put necklaces around people and burn them alive in the street. That's not a Bahamian attitude. So when you see people burning down buildings and even openly raping women in the street, yeah, but I tell you, in broad daylight, that's not a Bahamian trait, Bahamians. We have some people in here who are doing some crap, and they say Bahamians are doing it. Go back and check the nationalities of those persons who are doing these funny things. We don't do our homework. That's our problem. Everybody want to blame Bahamians. Oh, Bahamians for this, Bahamians for that. But yet the strangers keep coming. And even those say, we must be humane to them. Who's being humane to the Bahamians? Huh? How many? I'd like to see them be humane to us by staying in their own country. What are you coming here for? And God gave you your own country. Gave you your space to work in. And then you want to come and take my space and bring all your people with you to jam up in my space. How many of you out there got beautiful homes? You want all those people to come into your house? But our house is the Bahamas, Bahamians. The entire country, the land, the airspace, and the sea. All that belongs to the Bahamian people. That's our territory. You tell me 100,000 square miles. That's plenty of water out there. We have a responsibility to protect the interests of the Bahamian people. Now, what is the purpose of a government? Bahamians, I want you to call in and tell me what you think. I know what the Constitution says. You ask me a constitutional question, I will give you a constitutional answer. And let me just say, for those who do not know, constitutional questions are very difficult to understand and to answer them. Constitutional information is not easily understood, even by those particular personalities who say they are highly educated. Some of them talk all kind of crappy things. And they're not constitutionally sound. But you expect that out of them because you say this fella, he got all these degrees and he got this, he got that, he got the next thing. And guess what they do? All they do is argue among themselves while the average Bahamian suffers. You have experienced it for 50 years and 8 months plus and still experiencing it. You ain't got no resolution yet. So what are you going to do about it, Bahamians? We could get so absorbed into what is happening in Haiti, and I'm going to have the ambassador come here tomorrow. He's agreed to come, so I want to announce that. And some things I do not understand about their system over there. He will be able to clarify. I asked him some questions, and there's some things I do not know. When it comes to their own constitution, well, when it comes to the Bahamas Constitution, I don't think. I just know it. So I could speak with authority on the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and what we should be doing as we go forward. I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there?
Good afternoon, Miss Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson.
Thank you very much.
Berenice Johnson, the original. I must give thanks to the Almighty God through Jesus Christ of Nazareth and enveloping us in the Holy Spirit. Divine salutations to all of my recipients and especially my mortal boss, former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingham, Mrs. Ingham, and the present Prime Minister, Mrs. Davis, and Mr. Davis, and Mr. Christie. Now, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, ma'am.
I put it to you the last time about Article 21, and somebody cut you off because you did not answer that.
What was the question?
Reference to the invasion of privacy.
Okay.
I also want to speak to the calamity that is going on at National Insurance. I
Okay.
presented a file down there.
Okay. Hold on one moment. You talked about the invasion of privacy, Article 21.
Yes.
Okay. What specifically you wanted to say on that?
No, you can comment on it because that is one of the reasons why the late Paul Lawrence Adley and other expatriates and other individuals were doing, I think it was a renewal of the Constitution in its entirety. That
When was
has
that done?
affected many, many, many homes and many, many, many lives.
No, hold on, Berenice. You're going a little too fast for me. What did the Honorable Paul Adderley, in your understanding, did as it relates to the Constitution?
That was supposed to have been redone.
What was supposed to be done? The Constitution?
As far as the authenticity of the Constitution.
Wait, hold on now. You were saying to me, the Honorable Paul Adderley. See, I'm trying to understand you. That he did
I don't want to volunteer too much information, okay? Because it's intellectual property, and like how you looking for donation, I have earned my pay because this was done from way back in the 80s, and we had to research it.
Okay,
in the Royal
what
Bahamas
good?
Police Force.
Let me just ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
What good is the information if it doesn't reach the masses? What good is that?
Well, the masses shall benefit.
When?
Because I am telling you now, because what is going on at National Insurance was as a result of the Night of the Long Knives, and the masses do not understand what happened in that incident.
So
what now is happening also? Let me finish this statement, please. The internet criminal terrorism that happened in the National Insurance. I have a file down there from when you and Miss Russell used to be on the show. I told you about my claim. They said I was not in the Royal Bahamas Police Force in 1984, and based on that condition, it's a prima facie case. Mr. Wayne Monroe, he appeared on Rutland Bodie Show when he used to be on this station, and I shared that with him. Now, we need an emergency meeting because Prime Minister Philip Edward Graves Davis, the Almighty God, ushered him in for a time such as now, and nobody can touch it. Anything that has to be adopted is from the methodology of the Westminster system. We must come to an understanding collectively because we cannot incite any form of negativity. Our people are suffering, and the quality of their lives must be addressed here first and foremost. And the first world nation can deal with Haiti crisis.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
much of this situation, what you see is happening, is because of those women who I told you about who was marching in my name. You were on the show. Bishop Gregory Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Martin Albury,
I remember.
and all of those.
remember.
When I appeared on your show, I
Yes,
spoke
ma'am.
to the United States of America, the Eurasia Bloc, and Central America. And this this does not only entail law enforcement and military.
Yes,
it
ma'am.
entails religious organizations who are anti-God. They have their right to choose who they so wish.
Okay.
However, they ought to represent good, destroying
Yes, ma'am.
evil, and they are haters of white human beings. And
Okay.
they will smile in those people's face,
All right.
and they will take their life
Okay.
right away.
Thank you very much for your
Okay.
contribution. Bahamians, I'm a little bit more confused. She covered so many different things. I'm not familiar with all of this stuff that she keeps bringing up all the time. See, what I try to do on the shows with the help of God is if there is a topic that I'm discussing, I want to be as clear and precise as I possibly can be If, as far as I know, and if there's anyone else who have other information, I know there's been a change in the Constitution as it relates to the office of Attorney General. A nice, comfortable position was created for somebody called Director of Public Prosecutions. Not an independent director of public prosecutions, as they were saying all along when they were talking in the House of Assembly and in the Senate and all that, and on the airwaves and all of that. There's no such thing as an independent director of public prosecutions. Check the document for yourself. Now, I don't remember the article number, but it's the Attorney General's article. I don't remember the number of the article at this point. But let me just say this. I am not sure what the Honorable Paul Adderley did in relation to the Constitution. If there are persons who did studies and did research and are not prepared to assist the Bahamian people with this research, with these studies they have done, they want to keep it to themselves, fine. We have that crew in the country. That offers no comfort to the woman in Bain Town with 5 boys and the man in Foxhill who got 6 daughters, and he just told me he's still fighting to find husbands for those girls. We can't find them. So we got to help him, Bahamians. We can't leave him stranded like that. You can't leave the girls stranded like that. That's not good. I think the music is on now. We're going to have to go to a break. I'm going to continue on where I left off. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272, 820-0170. I think that's the third number, but I'm going to correct it if I'm wrong. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps,
constitutionally sound to express yourself just how you feel. Of course, we can't take any derogatory comments, let me make that clear, or try to defame someone's character. That's unconstitutional. Let me make that clear. And you don't necessarily have to agree what the professor says, you know. I'm not here for you to call just to kind of lotion somebody. And you have a different point of view. I will speak constitutionally, whether you agree or disagree. But I know the Constitution always stands. It is always right. It is never wrong. Let me give these numbers out. 801-0271. That is a text line as well as to make calls in. Then, of course, the other two numbers, 326-0271, 326-0272. And Bahamians, I want you to call in early now so we don't leave anyone on the line. You mind me? I could talk till the man come back. So you just intervene and say, Professor, I have a comment to make. I want to say something. That's why I'm here. You speak freely on Global Radio 99.5 FM. And that's the way it should be, Bahamians. But some other radio stations in this country are not like that. If the host doesn't agree with you, you just get cut off. Now, the things that Berenice spoke about, I'm not familiar with all those things. And she has knowledge about those things. I really can't speak to them because I don't know. But I have to allow her to speak her view. I think we have another call on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor Sidney Walter MacArthur Thompson. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm doing well today.
All right. This is a good friend of yours. I just wanted to call in. You said something at the beginning of the program, or in the first few minutes of the program, and
Yes.
that was that before 1973, we were British citizens.
Yes.
And I think you might have made a mistake. I think what you might have meant to say is British subjects. And I believe there is a subtle distinction, in some cases subtle, and in some cases dramatic difference between the word citizen and subject, especially as it relates to constitutional duties and rights and privileges. But that is just a point I wanted to make. But what I wanted to hear you discuss today, or deal with today, if you agree to do so, is constitutional conventions and the position put forth by the leader of the opposition today that the Minister of Works ought to resign for misleading Parliament.
All right, okay. We can discuss that. I'll just put it out to the public and see what they think about it, because I've heard comments like that before, and both sides of the divide have been asking for resignations because of someone misleading Parliament. And these conventions,
Right.
I'm not sure whether the Bahamian people fully understand these conventions.
Right.
That is a problem. See, the voice caller that called in, the things that that particular personality said, I am not familiar with those things. I just don't know. But if you have persons who have information and they do their studies and they do their homework and they don't want to share it with the Bahamian people, I say, what good is it? I am here being trained in constitutional law to explain to the Bahamian people what the Constitution says. Now, they may have a point of view that is contrary to the Constitution. The Constitution says they can express that. I can't stop them from doing that. But no, you have brought up a good point, and I want to put it out to the public. What do you think about such comments being made about conventions? I am not too familiar with all of these conventions because, see, a lot of things are just not being made available to the public. You got to go and research these things. And I have to have a team to assist me in doing a lot of things right now because being one person, you just can't do everything at one time.
But based on your understanding, what is a convention and what is the enforceability of it?
You asked a good question. Really, I don't have an answer for it. I have to be honest with you. I have heard about these quote unquote conventions. It appears to me, from what I have seen, on both sides of the divide, that when it's convenient for them, they say, well, okay, you didn't go according to the convention. Now, when I see them go contrary to the Constitution, now that's a whole horse of a different color. And I know they have violated the Constitution. The governor of the Bahamas has done it for 50 years and 8 months. That I could prove. There is an abundance of evidence to prove it. That's why I said the other day, every single law that has been passed. You look at the Bahamas Nationality Act, which is not even an act, it's a bill. If the laws that have been passed in this country like that, every last one of them are wrong. Every single one would be wrong. But see, I have to, but let's put it this way, the team and myself, we got to go through the whole thing, word for word, line upon line, sentence after sentence, paragraph after paragraph. That's a lot of hard work. You can't trust anything the governor of the Bahamas says. Are you there, caller?
I'm there. I'm here.
Okay. All right. Okay. See, that is why I don't want to come on the air to speak about the conventions. I am not fully knowledgeable about these quote unquote conventions that they keep talking about. I believe the information has to be made available to the public. What are these conventions? When were they passed? And what were they referred to? But I just heard a broad term, conventions. Now, when they refer to the Constitution, I could deal with that. Are you constitutionally sound, yes or no? And I think that is what I have to go by, because the Constitution is supreme law of the land. It didn't say conventions are supreme, because conventions could be, contrary to what is in our Constitution. So this is why I am saying that every single thing, all these treaties and agreements that the Bahamas government has signed, you have to examine every single one of them to see whether they're constitutionally sound. Otherwise, you won't know. So you can't take anything that they tell you. That's why I tell people, listen to what they have to say, watch what they do. But then if you don't know your Constitution, which is a major national problem in this country, I'm doing my best with the authority that's given to me to help as many as I possibly can, because there's no point having knowledge in your head and you can't share it. That doesn't make any sense at all. Caller, you still there?
I am.
Okay, well, go ahead, comment.
Other people get it, but thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Now, he asked about these conventions. And I have to tell him, quite frankly, I'm not even familiar with these quote-unquote conventions. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. That's the way I've always been. So when I give you any information, it has to be accurate and precise. But I've heard both sides of the divide talk about conventions, but they never told us what the conventions say. Where's the information available on these quote-unquote conventions? Do they apply to the Bahamas? See, that's another thing you got to look at. We are a sovereign, independent state. That's in your Constitution. I know about that. Caller, you live on here. Go ahead, please.
Brother Thompson.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Radio man, we just had in Inagua, in Inagua, Antarctic Island, Yosemite, how many boats already gone? They say about 4 boats. 22 in Turks Island and catch up 2 in Inagua.
Yes.
Now, I don't know without that 4,000 Haitian would break out of jail where they loose. We don't know some of them on these boats.
Yeah, okay.
That's why we have to be so careful now. And like the Commodore say, he helped his men out there.
Yes.
To block them off and stuff like that.
Yes.
But when I listen, see, you said something that is powerful. Our ways of living and our way of thinking is so different from the way each of them is. And you hear what Barbecue say? If any, they want to be in the decision making and putting a next president in Haiti. So it means that these fellas ain't going away. So if they are not pleased with whoever they like, that means problems still gonna be in Haiti.
That's possible. Yes.
You see, because see, when you have the outlaws, them could overthrow the overthrow the government, you have a
Yes.
problem because most of these gangs, they are ex-police and stuff, and they know the system.
Yes.
So that means you need to recruit. They can need to recruit more new police and things like that to really power and get control of Haiti because it'll still be the same problem.
Does
You put
that
a
mean
man there, and if a man be controlled by these ex fellas, them and stuff like that, you have another problem.
yes?
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But something I want to touch, maybe you're not. This is maybe not your topic, but something I want to touch with the food program here, if it please you.
Okay, make it quick now because I think some others are on the line. Ready
Okay.
To go in, yeah.
With the food program here, there's so much food in this country to feed our people. But the problem is no system. Everybody want to have their little to do. You get the Food Network. You get you get the man on Wolf Road. You get Lawrence Rule. You get the next one. So it's no system. So you got people who are going to Lawrence Road getting food. When they leave from him, they will go to the man on Wolf Road. I can't remember his name on Wolf Road.
Hanchel.
And then they go to the
Hanchel.
food. Walter Hanchel. Then they go to the Food Network. So who really need this food can't get it. That is why
Okay.
the problem is they need a system. All of them need to connect together and put people in the system. So when I go to Lawrence Road, I go to Walter Hanchel, they say, know something? You already can get food.
Yeah.
Somebody else got to get it. That's all they need,
Okay, Calderville. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. I'm going to comment on that after I
Okay.
get these calls out of the way.
Okay.
Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Afternoon, my name is Kareem Hanchel. I believe it's the first time listening, or second time listening to your show.
Okay.
I have about 2 points I wanted to make, if not three. The first point is, I just like to bring this into perspective as a 41-year-old man. I'm 41.
Okay.
Coming in high school, I went to CW Sawyer. They didn't teach us about civics or any government systems. We didn't talk about the Constitution. We ever had no class.
Wait a minute now. You just hold on. You went a little too fast for me. What you said about the Constitution?
When I was in primary school, they never taught us about the Constitution.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, I'm just giving you a breakdown in education and why we have to battle with illiterate voters and why it's a need to educate our voters before the next coming election. And what you're doing is a pivotal thing in doing it.
When you say illiterate, what do you mean?
Meaning that we don't know nothing about the information that we'd even be discussing if we never read the Constitution, which makes us what, illiterate.
All right, it's kind of a little strong, but that's your view. Okay, I'll have to let it pass.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We don't know the information. So primary school, they didn't teach us anything
Yes.
about the Constitution. High school, I vaguely remember being in civics, but we didn't touch anything about the Constitution. I went to Aquinas College.
Yes, sir.
Then I went to COB. After I graduated, they didn't have no courses on the Constitution or civics.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm a man. When I came back from university in 2005, I decided to read the Constitution for the first time. So for 3 years, I studied the Constitution on my own.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what we find as when you talk about violation, and as you said that you have found or evidence that you can now prove that our country or our government have violated constitutional rights.
For 50 years and 8 months.
The next step would be for us to now report it and have the police file a complaint and have the police investigate, because if we now could prove that there's a criminal act.
Well,
Okay.
the courts will determine whether it's criminal.
But we have to first make the complaint.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There are those who have already taken decisive action against the government of the Bahamas,
Good.
and that matters before the courts. So the courts will determine what is criminal.
Very good.
Yeah,
But
okay.
once you put it in play, then that makes sense for us to understand, because that's what really drives me to be in politics as a
Okay.
young man.
Yes.
Because of what I see coming up, I ran politics for 35, was the first time was when I ran, I was that age.
Where did
I
you run,
ran-
by the way? Where did you
I
run?
run independent.
In which constituency?
My first constituency was in Golden Isles. I ran in Golden Isles for the first time as independent
Okay,
in 017.
Okay.
Then in 021, I ran as independent in Garden Hills.
Why you switch?
Well, I born and raised in Garden Hills. Initially, when I went to Golden Isles to run, it was to challenge the then PLP administration,
Yes.
and Halkidas, who's currently on the same position he played when he was in the government in
Okay.
016,
Yeah.
he was the really one who was messing up the economy. Because
Okay.
he's the financial man, he's the economist that the government have on the bill to say he's running the numbers, and he is responsible for creating the plans for economic development and recovery. He's the person responsible for making the proper decisions on how the finances run. And when you look at our deficit, his decisions are making no positive impact to our finances in this country.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. Are you planning to run in the next general election?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Let me ask you a question. What is the purpose of a representative?
The purpose of a representative is to work with the community on identifying the issues and creating solutions collectively on solving these issues.
Do you see that happening? Do you see that
No,
happening?
it doesn't happen.
Why not?
Okay. Because what has happened was, again, it goes back to education, unless that we don't have not fully defined the roles of our MP, and if they have been defined in the Constitution, that the leaders who we elect through the party system have not educated themselves on the rules, and if they have educated themselves on the rules, then they're intentionally neglecting to function accordingly, which is an abuse of office.
Okay, let me just point out something to you that you may not fully understand. The Constitution speaks, thank you, Mr. Producer. The Constitution speaks one party representation. The Constitution speaks to parliamentary representation, two different things entirely. I believe very strongly from the evidence that I have available that Bahamians do not know the difference between the two. They've been having this struggle from 1967, January the 10th, 1967, right on up to this very day as I speak to you right now.
I agree.
That has not been cleared up. And so people get all mixed up. Even those who are elected to run your national affairs and your constituency affairs, they got it all mixed up. So that has to be cleared up, and I will do my best to clear it up for the Bahamian people constitutionally, not professors' personal opinion or idea. Although we're entitled to opinions and ideas. But see, in this kind of business, I can't get into that. I leave that for people who are calling into the show.
Could I add something to that quick point before I could disconnect?
Yeah, go ahead.
But from my understanding, in terms of, like you say, the separation of powers in terms of your representation from member of parliament level, from a constituency level, and then their role as a member of parliament in parliament.
Yes.
I agree. Parliament for me is a way for me to come and bring to the table issues that are found on the ground, issues that may be hindering development and growth for constituents, policies that may have been enacted that may no longer be able to assist the greater good or movement of the nation. And so Parliament is for us to speak to the general consensus of the population, to give them an update on exactly what's happening in terms of operation of their country and making decisions not on their own, but as a collective body, as a representation of a group of people on the Constitution, on a constituency level.
Listen, caller, you say you're 41?
Yeah.
You're much older than I am then. But the point is that I like your mindset, and I want you to leave your contact. Just send me an email, sydneymthompson@hotmail.com.
Spell it again. Spell it.
Sydney, Sidney,
Uh-huh.
M as in MacArthur, just the M, Thompson at hotmail.com.
I can shoot you something then, General.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, Cindy M. Thompson at hotmail.com.
Yeah, and put your telephone numbers and contacts in it, the constituency you in, and all that sort of thing. I'd appreciate that. Put your
Yes,
full
my
name
brother.
now and your age and your contact numbers. Yeah, okay.
Kareem Anshel is my full name. You could Google me. I was the $60 candidate that they make fun of during the election. That was the breakers, which was not true.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
another story.
Yeah, that's a different one. Well, thank you for calling.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, okay, all right. Now, that fella, he said he's the gentleman. Let me. Oh, we have another call. Call you live on here. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there?
Yes, I call in. Yeah, I'm on the health side, right?
Caller, you sound a
But
little garbled.
Say it again?
No, you sound garbled. Could you, I don't know what's causing it, but I'm not hearing you clearly.
All right, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I saying we're more on the health side, right? And with the Constitution, I know the people of the land, we should be the ones holding the power, not no MP.
Caller, can you start right at the beginning? But I still getting this interruption. You know, like I'm hearing bits and pieces of you. I don't know. I hear sound in the background. I don't know if that's an interference in the thing, but
Well,
go
I
ahead.
got bad connection. You can carry on. I got bad connection right now, so.
Okay, we want to try again and call back because you seem to have an
Yeah, let me do
interruption
that.
in the back. Okay, you're going to do that?
That's okay.
Yeah, okay, we'll try that quickly now. Don't wait till late now. Make sure call me back right away. See if you get a better connection. It's an interruption. I don't know what's causing it. You know, these technical people, they know about these kind of things. My specialty is in something else. I'm not familiar with that. But Kareem Hanschel, he said his name was, I think, if I got it correctly. He has some knowledge now, some very good knowledge in his head. And he seemed to be sincere. That's why I want to talk to him some more. We need people who are going to understand the Constitution, know what a representative ought to be doing, and how to get it done. Now, we have what is called local government. Some of you may want to comment on that. There's nothing in the Constitution that speaks to local government. Let me make that crystal clear. Nothing. You only have one layer of government. Just one. And then above that, well, of course, you got the cabinet. Different from the House of Assembly and different from the Senate. They come out from the House of Assembly and the Senate. A few from the Senate, but most of them from the House of Assembly. But let me just say this. I am delighted to see that Bahamians are showing interest in the Constitution, but we got plenty of work to do. Because just checking all of those pieces of legislation which have been passed by the government of the Bahamas is a monumental task. That's not a job for one or two people to do. It has to be bigger and broader to the point where we have a team of people, qualified persons, who understand constitutional law, who know the Constitution, and can assist the Bahamian people in doing that. Because if they're like the Bahamas, quote-unquote, Nationality Act, is not even an act, it's a bill, and boy, if we got laws like that, we're in trouble. We're in plenty trouble. Because anything that is contrary to the Constitution, Article 2, any other law, regional law, UN law, any law from the region or international law that is contrary to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, this Constitution shall prevail. You can have them funny things in here. What this convention say and that convention say, and the convention got all kind of funny things in it which are contrary to the Constitution. I mean, how we can go by that foolishness? But we got to do our homework, Bahamians. That's a lot of work. Plenty of work indeed. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We're going to break. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
When the lights go down, it's time for the Quiet Storm. Quiet Storm. Join your host, Lenny Green, as he takes you on a musical journey with the smooth.
Radio Network 99.5 FM. Bayman's, it is time for you to express yourself. That's what the show is all about. But then when you express yourself, you got to put action behind it. Article 24.1. I've said that countless times, and I think I got to keep repeating it because sometimes people forget. They think that's because they express themselves on the airwaves, that's the end of the matter. No, 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 that's only the beginning. Because I do a lot of work off air, but I have a responsibility to be on air. Most of you don't have that kind of responsibility, and it's hard work just preparing for a radio show. There are others in the background, personnel who have to work along with me. So when you hear me come up on the airwaves, it's just not Professor by himself. It's a team of people that I have to work with who gather information, do all sorts of things to help me and prepare for every single show. It is very, it could be stressful now, but I enjoy being on the airwaves. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be on the air. And it doesn't make you feel you're better than anybody else. Let me just put that out there. I'm just an average, ordinary Bahamian from the nothing class. I told you that before. 1 Corinthians 1, 24 to 31. And there are some other classes that would fit other people. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. All not there? Oh, okay. All right. Yes, let me just say this, Bahamians. You have an opportunity to call today. Take advantage of it and express yourself, as the show says. Speak your mind. And then when you do that, then you have to take the appropriate action, as the Patriots did. They say, I'm tired of talking. They decided to take action. And there are so many things out there that need attention, Bahamians. It needs the cooperation of every single genuine patriotic Bahamian to make a difference. The kind of problems we're going to be confronted with today and have, and further on down the road, are going to be so mind-boggling and monumental, our mothers and fathers would not have dreamed of it. But we are alive today, and we have to face it. But they face their giants in their time. And so that's why we are still here, and we are living off the benefits of the hard work and commitment made by those mothers and fathers, including my mother and father, who worked very hard, had 9 pigeons, 6 boys and 3 girls. And then another 3 grandboys. My mother always liked boys. She had 6 of her own. And she didn't like the girls too, but when it comes to her boys, that's just how she was. And some mothers are out there like you, like my mother, and that's understandable. Okay? But of course, you got to take care of the girls too, because my mother did the same thing. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272. And Bahamians, it is most important that you look objectively at what is happening. You're going to have information coming to you from all angles. I'm getting a lot of mixed information as to what is happening in Haiti. And as I said earlier in the show, Mr. Jeff Williams will be here tomorrow. And he's going to say some things that I'm not too familiar with as it relates to Haiti. Because we have to look at it objectively. And I heard the professor from Columbia University in Canada, where she does not look at the personalities who have caused all this violence, all this confusion in Haiti. You look at them, say they're not no gangsters. The international media say they're gangsters committing criminal acts, and that's what's been happening. And then someone else told me, it ain't them, it's them fellas who came out of jail. Well, who let them out of the jail? Who let over 4,000 people out of the jail? The 2 jails, the big jails in Haiti. We're going to come to that. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing quite well.
I want to find out firstly, you now the host of the show now? You still just
that?
I don't know.
No, it's a good question that you asked. Well, that is a management decision that has to be made.
Okay.
So I'm just here, for the time being. Let me put it that way.
You're doing a good job. That's why I asked.
Well, management has to make that decision.
You're really educating us. That's why I really asked. I hope they would keep you. Yeah, you're doing well.
Well, I think you need to talk to them then.
I can work on that.
Call them.
But listen to me.
Yeah,
the
okay.
Haitian situation.
Uh-huh.
If you have problems in your home, you will be the first person would have an idea to how to address the problem in your house.
You should, yes, that's correct.
Okay?
Yeah.
That is with Haiti.
Yes.
The Haitians should have the first idea on what they should do or what they think they would be able to solve this situation.
Yes,
now they have
right.
this man they call barbecue.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. Yeah, you go right ahead.
Like he's ready to be the president.
Well, he said if it don't go his way, or persons, I guess, connected to him are not in on the discussions, they're going to create more violence and mayhem in Haiti.
Professor. You think they can get more violent than what they have now?
Boy, that's a good question that you ask. You know, but with that, but not cutting you off, but the mentality of this particular personality. He said it. I heard his voice as came on the radio, and that's what he intends to do. So they're saying, and according to the professor from the university in Canada, she is saying that they're not gang leaders, they're not gang members. They look at them differently. But they're saying that the international community is interfering with their democracy. Now, what kind of democracy do they have over there? And interfering with their national affairs.
But what I heard a clipping
Yes.
from a gentleman, and he said, Haiti, the Haitians got to go back in and fix Haiti's problem.
Yes.
It's like you know an individual has a drug problem.
Yes.
And as long as he don't accept that he has a problem, you're wasting your time with him.
Okay. All right.
The Haitians need to realize that, hey, we have a problem here. But instead of fighting and trying to hold the problem down, they're trying to get away.
Okay.
They're not fighting the problem, but they want other people to go in and fight their problem.
Now, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
You know, like I told somebody in closing, you talking about how much Bahamians in Canada, something like that would to happen in the Bahamas, what is happening in Haiti now. I could almost guarantee you three quarters of those Bahamians will come back from Canada to try and get this place in order.
Okay.
Don't mind them in Canada now. They coming back home because they think about their children and their grandchildren and their cousin. And that's how Bahamian people think differently.
Yeah, okay.
Those people, they just want to get away.
But that is,
boats in 2 days?
Yeah, that's right.
That's serious.
It is very serious, yes. You're quite right.
It is a serious thing we have to get. But how long do you think average it takes a boat to get from Haiti to South Beach?
You asked a good question. I am not familiar with that. You know, how long it takes. I'm not familiar
How
with
much money you think it would cost for a plane to fly around once a day around the perimeters of Haiti and the Bahamas? You only got to fly once a day because that plane and radar boat could get you in one day. You don't have to spot that boat once that boat move.
But don't they have...
That plane don't have to be in there all day.
That's true, yeah. But don't they have other ways of scanning the skies and the water?
So what happened to the drones? What happened to the $1 million drones?
That's
have you ever saw a government drone before in there?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so what happened to the drones? Were there ever any drones patrol?
Well,
I've never heard nobody ever said they saw a government drone in there.
Yeah, but this is where we're not getting the... Well, let's put it this way. We're not getting information. We're hearing things like, for example, with Haiti, I'm hearing all kinds of different conflicting stories from persons who ought to know. Now, I expect to have a guest on tomorrow who's going to clear up a whole lot of things about Haiti.
And there is an individual businessman, I'm not going to call his name. He's bragging about he has 10 stores in Haiti, and the Haitian people are not like this, the Haitian people are not like that. But you expect him to say that because he's benefiting off them.
Yeah, but you could call his name. His name is in the public domain. You ain't got to hide that. That's no top secret. And I heard the crap.
If he has 10 customers go into his number store, 10 of them, 8.5 of them Asian.
I heard the crap that
and
he
then
was talking.
They would to win their winnings, they could get, their family could collect it in Haiti. I mean, it's alleged.
If they win.
Yeah.
The houseman always wins, you know. You know that.
Well, but the thing say everybody wins. Somebody can win.
Okay, all right, okay. If you think that way. Yeah. Yeah. All right, if you feel that way.
Everybody can lose every day, Mr. Thompson. Somebody can win. Now you might win and I might win, but somebody can win.
I know who wins all the time. The houseman wins.
He comes out on top.
He comes out on top.
Yes, sir.
No, that particular individual's name is in the public domain. You could call that name if you so desire.
No,
you know, it's up to you.
Get into that, you know.
There's
but
nothing.
Everybody knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, but there's
he benefits. He has a lot of businesses around here, and somebody that works for him.
Okay.
More than 80% of his employees are Asian. You know, so I don't know.
That's another thing again. If someone gave you that information, or you know that for sure.
Well, I know somebody who worked for him at one of his places said it to me.
Oh, so you say...
They said that is why he's so adamant about the Haitians. He loved the Haitians.
Oh, okay. But once your pockets are being greased, why not?
If you're taking care of me, why not look out for you?
But your
why not
interest...
for you if you're taking care of me?
Your interest should not supersede the interests of the Bahamian people or national interests of the Bahamian people.
I told somebody jokingly over a breakfast table the other day, fella across me at the home and changed my shirt, but he laughed so much.
Oh, okay.
I said that's a sign of terrorism.
Okay.
And they took it for a big joke, but that's a serious thing.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. That is why we have to watch what's happening in the country. I believe, and this is a view that I have, I could express a view now. The Constitution says I can do that. But I see where we're being dragged into the affairs of another entity, and more the affairs of our own country being undermined.
Growing up, when your mommy and daddy, not really your daddy, but when your mommy them and the neighbor them used to row, they used to say, ask that one and ask that next one. What they're trying to do is get somebody else in this row.
Okay.
Right? So that is what they do. They're trying to fight another country problem. And we have our own to do right here just with them alone. Right here, people talking about the Filipinos and the Chinese and the this one and that one. How many times in your lifetime you ever heard a Chinese being to court? Or Filipino being to court?
That's a good point. Good point.
They're here now. You can't conduct that. They're here.
Yes.
But they're conducting themselves in a manner that as a visitor should conduct themselves. You can't come in my house and do what you want to do. My children behaving, and you acting the fool in my house, breaking up everything, eating up everything, drinking up every day.
Good point. That's what's happening. And so that's why I say the Bahamas is our house. We have to protect the Bahamas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The people only come here to see what they could get when they're ready to get someplace else to go. I have no place else to go. I could go and visit, but I coming back home.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
All right, Brother Thompson, God bless you. I'm going to continue
you.
listening to your show, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, now, that is a patriotic Bahamian. We need to get him to assist the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because we need every single patriotic Bahamian to build the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We have a lot of problems. We have people who are specially trained in specific areas, which cover every single aspect of Bahamian way of life. And every single person is important, because they have a contribution to make. They have a job to do. And so we have to look at it objectively and come to understand that it takes the collective will of a people to make sound decisions and good judgments. And of course, during the last 50 years and 8 months, we have done a lot of things that were wrong. And we were not thinking objectively about some decisions that we made, which were very bad decisions. For example, you, in most cases, have been electing the wrong set of people. Do you know that, Bahamians? Let me give you a simple example. I like to use this example because I think you can understand it. You're members in Barnabas Church, but you also work the BDC. Now, you know when you're supposed to go to church and when you're supposed to go to work. Church occurs, say, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Sunday morning. When you go to St. Barnabas Church at that time, you don't tell those members in their church, leave your job and come work the BDC tomorrow. So you see all them people in Barnabas Church leave their job and go to the BDC, say they want a new job. Neither when he goes to BTC, he doesn't tell those people who are there, leave your church and come to St. Barnabas Church. Plus that particular individual having two separate functions. One, members in Barnabas Church, also a member of BTC as an employee. And he never gets it mixed up. He don't go to St. Barnabas Church on a Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. Because there ain't no church at St. Barnabas Church. Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock. Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock, he going to BDC. Now, probably in the evening time, they may have like special meetings and he might attend them. But how come we don't get mixed up? Now, let's transfer this to the constituency. Do we have a caller? Oh, we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well.
I
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes. I haven't had a chance to listen to the show today, but I saw it.
Yes, ma'am.
The advertisement of it, and I was interested dealing with our Constitution.
Oh, yes.
But there's a question, and I'm going to do this real quick. People like to ask the question like, who's the real Bahamian?
It's a good question.
And I would like to say, when you want to look at who's the real Bahamian, because, the Lucayans never fully inhabited the Bahamas, and then the Bahamas was desolate for 100 years. And then, of course, we had the Paris that came, we had some Europeans that came, we had some French that came, we had some blacks that came. We had a few slaves, and we had, everybody that came to the Bahamas in Lutheran Adventures was allowed here by the kingdom.
Okay.
By the kingdom. And the last set of people, after the Loyalists came and bought them, and not all of them bought their slaves, because when the Loyalists came, merchants came amid them also.
Yes, ma'am.
But they said the Loyalists, they all bought slaves, which they did not all bring, but I would not dispute that. However, in emancipation, all of the slave masters left the Bahamas. And they took most of their slaves with them. For example, there was a Lord Ferguson. He had 1,000 slaves. He left the Bahamas and he took 800 of his slaves with him, and he left 200. And then we know that the kingdom, which is Queen Victoria, said that the slaves can have their master's land. And then the next set of people that was brought to the Bahamas that nobody ever talks about are the liberated Africans that was straight from Africa to the Bahamas. Nobody talks about that. And the liberated Africans was brought here by the kingdom, the British Empire, set free in the Bahamas. Of course, they were set free other places, but I'm talking about the Bahamas. And it was 7,000 of them. And they were the last set of people that the British Empire brought here, gave right to live here, and were up to the time of independence, their descendants, and all the others, the Lutheran descendants of the Lutheran Adventures, the descendants of some of the pirates, because some of them came clean, and some was killed, the descendants of the ones who were ready here. The kingdom had to bring you on this side. If the kingdom did not bring you here, you would be back in your land where your ancestors was born. Even the slaves, how did they get on this side of the world? The tribes in Africa sold them to the white people who were the empires, and Portugal started slavery over 100 years before the British entered. We will never mention that because, of course, the Pope doesn't want us to remember that they started slavery. And the Catholic does not want us to remember that. But in the Bahamas, there are descendants from liberated Africans. And do you know where they were placed by the kingdom? They were placed Carmichael, Adelaide, Fox Hill, Sandilands. We need to actually look into the liberated Africans because where they were placed was very important. And their descendants, if we really was to study it, have more rights to the land. Okay? Because everybody else in this Bahamas, when the Loyalists entered, the King George III gave every man, woman, and child land.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to go back and yes, every man, woman, and child was granted land along with the Loyalists. And the last set of people that was placed on land, although they was not given a title deed, they were placed there by the kingdom.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know, we talk about Haiti a lot, okay? Do you know how the black Haitians got in Haiti? The Kingdom of France put them there as slaves. Kingdom again.
Okay.
Do you know how the Jamaicans kingdom again. Do you know how the Cubans, and I'm not talking about the Indian ones that they met there. So, like I said, I didn't have a chance to listen. My radio went bad. I want to buy a radio because I really want to tune in and listen.
Yes,
but this is what the aspect we need to look at. When it comes to real, you know why they say raw-born Bahamian? Because your great, 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 great grandparents' bones is in the Bahamas. That's what it meant when it said. That means their bones was buried here in the Bahamas. That's what it meant when it said, I'm a raw-born Bahamian.
Yes. Very interesting analogies you drew there. I think there's a lot of merit in what you said. I gonna have a guest come on, if not, it won't be today, but perhaps on a future show, to go into the history. And I think it would be good for the Bahamian people to know the history of, and those places you named on the Providence, that's an integral part of what happened. And they were liberated as slaves at the time. Yes, you're quite right about that. And I think a lot of our people are not too familiar with the history of what went on prior to in past years, and how the slaves, when Queen Victoria, I think it was, who gave the edict to liberate the slaves, they went into the church. They didn't burn the man's house down. They didn't burn his shop down. They went into the church and prayed to God and thank God for being liberated. The chains were taken off their legs and their arms and so on. And they gave thanks.
Yes, they did. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, ma'am.
And many of the liberated Africans, because they would call them Africans, they never called them slaves.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
slaves were the ones who were enslaved.
No,
the
you're correct on that.
Africans were the ones that they intercepted the ship before they entered slavery. And on their birth certificate would be A for African.
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm not going to disagree with that. You're 100% correct on that
many
point.
of them made a vow that they will serve the God of the white man that liberated them.
Yes, ma'am.
And set them free. And a lot of them were children.
Yes,
they
ma'am.
were starving. Many had died. Those who were on there were starving.
Yes, ma'am.
They were sick. They were tended to. They didn't speak the language.
Yes.
That is an area in the Bahamas. We just want to always mention slaves, 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 slaves. And nobody remembered the liberated Africans.
That is an excellent point you brought up. I was to have a guest come on to explain that, and I am going to have that guest perhaps on a later show. There was some interruption in that, and I know that.
So. And I would love to. I have to buy a radio so I can tune in completely.
Yeah.
So you have a great day.
Yes, ma'am.
And take care.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sure that the particular personality who was supposed to bring that information perhaps is listening. And now I'm beginning to see how vital it was for that particular personality to bring that information to the public, because there's a lot that we just don't know. And the lady is quite correct. I can't fault her for anything. There were the liberated persons who were not slaves, and there were those who were slaves. And they were brought here, and they worshiped the God of the white man as they understood and knew at that particular time. Now we know the God of the Holy Bible is the true God. We have that in our Constitution, the supremacy of God. And you must understand that people only could go by what they know at any given time. Today we know better. The Holy Bible is the written word of God. Now, if you use the Holy Bible and the Constitution of the Government of the Bahamas, you have a winning combination where you will always win. And the man said, in that house, everybody wins. But if you want to always win, you use the Constitution and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and the Holy Bible. You'll win every battle. That's your winning ticket, because the Constitution is your salvation document. You ain't got no other one. The Constitution is supreme. The Holy Bible is supreme. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Holy Bible is the supreme law of the universe. So you got God on your side, and you have situations which do not exist in Haiti. They've been experimenting with democracy, and I understand that Aristide was the first elected personality as their president. and somehow they didn't agree. I heard someone say he served his full time. I don't think he did because they took him out. They took him out and carried him out of the country. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson, and callers, please call in while we still have time now, because we don't want you to wait for the last minute and then some of you get left on the line. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Original Patty's Bakery Limited on Harrow Road has lots of goodies waiting for you. Hot cross buns, Jamaica spice buns with cheese.
Tonight at 7 p.m.
As soon as you clock off from work, make sure you lock right into me. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm, inviting you to come on over. I've got all of that R&B ear candy that you love. Plus, we'll engage in conversations inside of Confessions of Love and so much more. And you never know who's going to drop by. It's The Quiet Storm, all getting underway tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm. Keep it moving.
From East Street to Blue Hill Road, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
We have interference on the line, right? A call on the line? Okay. Hold on. You're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Professor Thompson. Can you hear me? Professor Thompson.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Lady Russell here.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was listening. My apologies for not being able to come in. I was really not well enough to appear. But just as I woke up out of some much needed rest from the pain I was experiencing, I heard Minister Lockhart call in and talk about the freed Africans. And
yes.
That was what I meant to share today. So you understand how important this is to the Lord,
it is
right?
Extremely important.
I did not discuss with her the contents of what we were to have today. The
Yes,
Lord
ma'am.
told her. And
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is so important because as you express your disgust about the things that are happening over in Haiti and the behavior of those people,
Yes,
I meant
ma'am.
to share today why the behaviors are so contrasting between the Haitian people and the Bahamian people. Paul Adderley contributed to an article which was published. It was titled "The Bahamas: Independence and Beyond." It was a collection of research by knowledgeable people, but I most enjoyed the piece by Paul Adderley. He titled it "Political Development in an Independent Bahamas."
Yes, ma'am.
And Paul Adderley writes, most Bahamians are the descendants of persons who were never slaves, but captives brought to the Western Hemisphere to work the plantations of Cuba for the most part. After the abolition of the slave trade by the British in 1808, captives later to be called liberated Africans, freed from the slave ships by the British. It was inevitable that they would not hate the British, who had freed them from a life of slavery.
Yes.
The petition of the Grantstown Friendly Society 165 years ago, and in 73 it was 165 years,
Yes.
to the British sovereign, who would have been Queen Victoria, tells us in the preamble to its application for registration the feeling of Africans at that time in what would have been to them a very strange land. We, your Majesty's dutiful and loyal subjects, natives of Africa, approach your Majesty to acknowledge the blessings which it has pleased God to bestow on us under the generous protection of your Majesty and of the British nation.
Yes.
Torn from our native country and connections by cruel men, and surviving the trials which destroyed before our eyes so many of their victims, until rescued from slavery by your Majesty's brave seamen, we have found a home in your dominions. For this deliverance, we return our grateful thanks to the Almighty, and in return for the benevolent protection afforded to us in our helplessness, we shall ever regard ourselves as the friends of all Englishmen and the grateful and attached subjects of your Majesty.
Yes.
In adopting the language and the habits of the English people, we have learned with these the truth of the Christian religion, which have moved them to be the protection of the African race. And as Christians, we have formed ourselves into a society for the relief of our widows and orphans, and those who are unable to support themselves in sickness and old age. So Paul Adderley writes, this is a letter from the Grantstown Friendly Society. And this was the feeling of the liberated Africans who were set here. And so my point is that our acceptance of Christianity and the ways of the Brits had to do with gratitude.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the people of Haiti had an entirely different experience.
Exactly.
They rose up, they killed the masters and their children.
Yes, they did.
Experienced cruel slavery. And after that, they experienced retribution for having fought for their own freedom. And
That's
so
correct.
their story is just different than ours.
Very much
a very
so.
sad story. And we do sympathize with them, which was why over the years, because for many years, Haiti provided food to our islands before the American trade and food stores and all that.
Mhm.
You remember those docks out there at Bay
Yes.
Street? They were full of Haitian sloops
That's correct.
with mangoes and vegetables and
Yes,
fruits of all kinds. And so, but notice they weren't trying to invade the place at the time. They were doing so well. And so all the things that transpired that gave them themselves, and all the things that God allowed to happen to us and made us a uniquely different group of people who on July 10th, 1973, uttered those noble ideas. We have not changed anything. We've not altered the Constitution, and we have no intention of. And so, again, Professor Thompson, I thank you for obeying the Spirit of the Lord. It has been, some 9, maybe 10 years that I heard you on the airwaves to the family of islands telling us how important the Constitution of the Bahamas is, how important that covenant which we made with the God of heaven on July 10th is to our continuity. And so without malice and without anger, and I thank you for always making sure that we remain focused and level-headed, we must defend what it was that we covenanted on July 10th or face becoming extinct. That is how seriously God takes a commitment with a group of people. People who are called to certain behaviors who do not faithfully carry out their side of the contract become extinct. There are many languages and peoples of the South American experience who no longer exist. We have no intention of joining them. And Brother Thompson, I should be most grateful to come. And there's far more historical data that our people need to know. We are not the Haitian people. They are distinctly themselves, and they have a country. There are 11 million of them. My greatest concern after hearing Minister Alfred Sayers talk about the numbers of applications is how many passports and documents have we already given, or should I say sold, to a group of people who had no constitutional right to have them. And if at some future point in the world they are sent back here with those documents, then the Bahamas as we know it will have been destroyed. We must not let it happen. Thank you so much, Brother Thompson, for your work and your faithfulness. God bless you.
You ready to move? Oh, okay, all right. Thank you, Lady Russell, for your comments. And let me just say this. The Bahamian people need to know and understand there is a marked difference between the Bahamian people and the Haitian people. The experience from our masters are totally different. I understand from information that's available to me that the French were very brutal, and the Haitians, being carnal, just like everybody else, but have their feelings and their emotions. And some people say you shouldn't be emotional, but what do you expect from people? They will become emotional because it affects them, whether it be good or whether it be bad. Now, they have to work their way out of the predicament that they're in. And so it's very important that we take care of our business here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, as we've been doing from 1729, when the House of Assembly opened up. And we have a track record that no other nation in this part of the world, or even the world itself, has. A peaceful transition of administrations from one administration to the next, right on up to this very day as I speak. That's an incredible record for Haiti to learn from. You have to put institutions in place, democratically institutions in place to assist the people in that land. And people have to learn, because we had our problems too, with some people who were here before 1967, who were ruling in the Bahamas, and it was felt by some people that it looked impossible for it to happen. But it came about because of the unified effort of the people at that time. Today we have all kinds of things happening and people being pulled here and pulled there. We also have an infusion of strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders getting into our business. And that's not a good thing. And some of us have been caught between selling our birthright to people for a couple of dollars. You cannot have another nation developing in one nation called the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You have two distinct different nations. That's not good. So we have to look at ourselves, take care of our problems here. That's the best thing we could do to help Haiti. Give you a very strong example. Since you say you want to run your own things, you already accused the international community of meddling in your democracy, which you had none from 1804, and the only little bit you had with Aristide, and you didn't allow him to complete his term. You threw him out of office, or he was influenced to come out of office. And they always talk about the United States having interfered in their country. Well, then you show them you can handle it. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And we can help you. And I think the best thing the Bahamas can do is to set a very strong democratic example, because we have institutions. We got the court. Over in Haiti, the court ain't working. We have stability in the Commonwealth of Bahamas, even though we have some fellas who don't want to go by the Constitution. We can deal with that crew. But we have a judiciary that will hear the cause of persons who are oppressed. That's why we take it to court. We don't put no necklace around nobody and rape people in the middle of the road and light them afire. Come on, where did that come from? Burn down the buildings, break open the jail. See, Fox still right there. Ain't nobody break that open. We want them to stay in there. We want them to come out. So the thing is, Bahamians, that we have to get serious about building our country and doing what needs to be done to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's what we need to do. The line's open, 3260271, 3260272, and 801-2701. You can send a text, you can make the call in. Because see, Bahamians, listen, let me just say this to you. We are in our worst crisis ever. You see how these people coming in here illegally on boats? And they share an island with the Dominican Republic. They ain't got to be drowning in all this water. So why are you leaving the island of Hispaniola? There's another nation that shares that island with you. And they're not having the kind of problems that you're having in your part of the island. So what went wrong? And I even understand you had some Haitians in the Dominican Republic, and they made a determination to drive them out. You think you should come here and take over and outnumber us? We have to take decisive action, Bahamians. Otherwise, we won't have a country. God gave the Bahamas for Bahamians. These family islands, rocks and keys. We're the possessors. We're the owners. We are the inheritors and successors to this family of islands. That's in your Constitution. Famous, that's why I keep saying you need to familiarize yourself with the Constitution. Some things I got to keep repeating it, because you always forget. And there are some things, of course, I have to go in depth about government, about voting, about electoral process in this country. So we have something to work with. We have laws, strong laws, that we need to become familiar with, constitutionally sound laws. So when you write all these other crappy things, don't get overly concerned about them. We can correct them. And in order to correct them, you have to know what your Constitution says. So I'm going to be doing a lot in relation to the Constitution. I mentioned about constitutional town meetings, constitutional lectures at different points. We're going to let you know more about that. And so I want you to send those emails in to me, sydneymthompson@hotmail.com, and give us your full name, your date of birth, the street you live on, the constituency you're in. You put your box number, your telephone contacts, and every single one would be answered. Now, I did tell you that over the past couple of weeks, I didn't have any communications. And the telephone company made sure that the lines were, because the technicians kept calling me and they wanted to make sure that everything was straight. Now, since I left office today, everything working. So I told the man, you all need to keep these lines on till the man comes back, till Christ comes back. I am accustomed to getting good service because I pay for it. And I get very much disturbed when I don't get quality service. But hard-earned dollars pay for. Things kind of a little tough now. But you have to have communications. You can't live without it. It's important that you have it. Even the average person needs to have it. The line's open, 3260271, 3260272. Now, don't forget tomorrow now, Mr. Jeff Williams, Ambassador to Haiti, would be here. He's agreed to come. And we're going to talk more about the Haitian side of things. He's more knowledgeable about that, and he'll be able to bring some information to enlighten the Bahamian people. I'm hearing all kinds of different things from the highly educated personalities. And the international community call these people gang members, violent gang members who are, and the man did say, what his name is, I don't quite remember what nickname they call him. But the point is, he has pledged, if they are not involved and they don't have their way, they're going to plunge the nation into darkness. I bet people with that kind of spirit, why do you want them to run your country? You're no better off. I wouldn't want to see that happen in the Bahamas, and someone was trying to compare the Bahamas with Haiti. It's like night and day. Now, we have our share of problems. We can handle these little problems there. These are little fish fry problems we have in the Bahamas. But we allow it to grow 50 years and 8 months. And those who you gave the authority to run this country did not do their job constitutionally. That's the real crux of the problem. And we have to fix it, Bahamians. And we're calling on you to assist in getting it done. 1 or 2 people can't do it. It just can't work that way. It takes the collective will of a people. Article 24.1 of your Constitution. And some other articles too, you know. But I quote Article 24.1, where it specifically says that you have the authority to protect your interests. So it's important that you do that. If you have an interest to protect, then you got to do something, Bahamians. You can't keep sitting down and say, I can wait for Professor to do it. Professor can't do it by himself. I can even try, because I know better. I know a particular personality who was on here. He took on some major problems. But the people, as I understood, didn't support the cause. I had to wait 50 years for the Bahamian people to wake up. They have a constitution. Now that their eyes are open, we need to move forward quickly because we don't have much time, Bahamians. Time is very short. So we got to do what was not done in 50 years and 8 months. It's a lot of catching up to do, but that's just the way it is. But I'm well prepared to assist and help, and I'm sure there are others out there whom the Lord has prepared to assist and help to take the country forward in spite of its challenges, in spite of its difficulties. God always will help you. He said he will abundantly pardon, but you got to repent. And some of these fellas, they don't want to repent, you know. They think they are always right. The professor is not always right. The Constitution is always right. The Holy Bible is always right. That's what you need to understand. Mr. Lucy, we have a caller. Caller, you live on. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sid.
Yes, sir.
This is Lockhart.
Lockhart, okay, all right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I should say more than a question, more than a comment. Was wondering, in any particular, let me see. I had a word in my head so clear, but if someone was to take over from the PLP and the FNM, a new government, should the first thing they implement is the proper history being taught in schools? You know, like the Constitution in the first place that we don't know about?
That's an excellent question. I like them kind of questions. The Constitution is your salvation document. And if the people don't know their salvation, then they're lost people. Yes, it should be taught. But I think much more has to be done now if there be an administration. And let me put it this way. Not what we need in this country, I'm going to say it up front right now. We need a national government that could solve national problems. We need members in the House of Assembly who can solve constituency problems. That's why they were sent there to do that. Article 52(1). But they don't know the Constitution. And it says some very specific, clear-cut things that parliamentarians in the House of Assembly, because you got them in the Senate too, they are parliamentarians too now. Some people just forget that. House of Assembly members, parliamentarians. The Senate members, parliamentarians. They're the parliamentarians. But they're also members of political parties. Now, we ain't dealing with that part. But their job as parliamentarians is what's falling down. Yes, sir? But it should be taught in the schools. I don't have a problem with that.
But if our only choice of government is treated just like how we treat Junkanoo, which is either Saxons or Valleys, PLC or F&M, what is the nation to do for a third choice?
That's a good question. Let me put it to you this way. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas gives you more than just what you have now. The Constitution allows for political parties. That's one aspect of it. The Constitution allows for party representation. The Constitution allows for parliamentary representation. I draw the analogy, I don't know if you heard it, but I'm going to repeat it again. You're a member of St. Barnabas Church, right? Sir. You work to BDC. Now, when you go to St. Barnabas Church, you don't tell them members in St. Barnabas Church, leave your job and come to BDC on Monday with me. And then all them people in St. Barnabas leave their job, come to BDC, we want a job here. And then when he goes to BTC, he doesn't tell those members who are there now, leave your church and come to St. Barnabas Church. Do you see that happen?
No.
Okay, good. Now, why I draw the analogy is simple. You have this one particular personality who is a member of St. Barnabas Church, but he's also a member of the staff at BTC. He doesn't get mixed up on that, right?
No.
Okay, good. And he's been doing that for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever age they may be. Now, let's bring that to the constituency. Why is it so difficult for constituents in a given constituency not able to make a sound decision as to the right person? And I want to stress that. The right person to send to the House of Assembly to represent them. Why is that so difficult? Now, you could think about it. You could think about it. You don't have to necessarily answer it, but you could think about it. Go ahead, then, if you want to make a comment.
Say, from when I'm voting, I'm usually presented the choices. I've never picked my candidate based on their merits or their academics. I picked them because the party said this was the best representative.
Now, that's your mistake right there. That's your mistake right there. That is what most people have been doing. It is not constitutionally sound. Because people don't understand the Constitution.
No.
The party may choose a particular personality and run that particular personality in a particular constituency, and that person just doesn't fit the bill. What do you look for in a parliamentary representative? The Constitution outlines that. But if you don't know what to look for because a particular party, some fellas sitting in one room decide to make a decision, we send in this particular person, and then tell those people in that particular constituency, you vote for that person. That's wrong. That's the mistake we've been making for more than 50 years and 8 months. It's a tragic mistake. But that's what's been happening. That's why we have the foolishness and the nonsense when a parliamentarian, the Constitution says, the way for a person to become prime minister, there are two options.
Mm-hmm.
The leader, and I want you to listen carefully now because I'm quoting it just as it is in the document.
Okay.
The leader of the party that commands the majority of the members of that house. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, If that is not possible, then the Governor General has to choose that particular personality in the House who commands the majority of the members of that House. You understand me? Caller, did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now here's the point. What you have seen is parliamentarians, but let me just say House of Assembly members, so they're parliamentarians. So I want to be very specific. They have the authority to select a person to become or to be appointed to the office of Prime Minister. They can make or break that particular personality or that particular government because the Prime Minister appoints or selects certain persons to be appointed because the appointments are done by the Governor General. So I just want to get that straight. You were sent there, hold on, you were sent there to do what? For the protection of your constituency, to represent them, right? Okay. But you ain't doing it. We're not getting parliamentary representation. That's not happening. What you have is party representation in the House of Assembly, party representation in the Senate. That's where we've gone wrong. Now we got to fix that because it ain't working. You hear me, Colin?
Yeah, so what I was saying, what do you think about Lincoln Bain and the coalition that he represents? Is that a viable anything or?
Caller, I want you to call. I should be on tomorrow. Yeah, I can be here tomorrow. Listen, what I need you to call because my producer is telling me I'm just about almost out of time.
All right.
So, but don't forget, call tomorrow now because I want to continue this conversation with you. I ain't finished with this yet. But it's a good question. I love it. I love these kind of questions. And the Amos out there, please give me these constitutional questions like this call is doing. I love this. That's what I'm trained for. This has been Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. Express yourself. Have a pleasant evening and thank you very much.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of the